What is the role of the OPG&T, the Office of the Public Guardian Trustee, and what does a day in the life of the OPG&T look like?
Well, the Public Guardian Trustee is a pretty large organization. We have about 377 full-time employees that are employed in Toronto and throughout the regions, Ottawa, London, Sudbury, Thunder Bay, and Hamilton. And there are several things that we're responsible for, but I'll talk about the things that are probably more relevant for today. So the Public Guardian Trustee acts as the guardian of property for approximately 11,000 clients in the province. And we are the guardian of persons for approximately 20 clients. We have a treatment decisions unit that the consultants make close to 5,000 treatment decisions on behalf of incapable persons each year. I'm an investigator for the OPG&T, and we've received, there's 20 of us in the province, and we've received about 3,000 allegations each year regarding people who are alleged to be incapable of either managing their finances or their personal care, or both, and at risk of serious adverse effects. In 2017, there were 405 allegations made to our investigations unit, assigned to investigators for further screening. There was 114 opened. We also conduct investigations for our property guardianship clients and estates department. And so we conducted I think 1,100 in 2017 of those investigations. In terms of when people can make an allegation to our office, we look at personal care allegations for people who are age 16 and up, and for property finances age 18 and older. Our office also acts as a state trustee for individuals who have died without a will and without family or next of kin in Ontario. So that's basically what we do. There's other things, but not really that'll be relevant for today. So in terms of a typical day at the PGT, I mean, I'm an investigator, so I can really only speak to that. And so again, my job varies depending on what I'm tasked to do. So if I'm investigating, if it's in terms of an allegation, so anybody in the province of Ontario can call. We have an intake line. So we get calls from friends, neighbors, doctors, lawyers, you name it, who call to say they have an allegation that somebody may be incapable, again, of managing finances or personal care or both, and they're at risk of serious adverse effects. So our intake line, we rotate onto that, and we will take the calls for the day. We get, varies again, maybe some days I'll get 7 calls, some days I'll get 25 calls. We get correspondence as well. And then we take a look to see whether or not we can help. Usually we give suggestions because we're supposed to be the last resort. So normally if you call our investigations department, we'll talk about the situation. We'll see if there's other less intrusive things that we try first before we get involved. And then basically if it's determined that we do need to get involved further, then we'd open an investigation, which generally sees us going to court when that's the outcome that we're looking at, to go to court to obtain guardianship of personal care and property. In that case, we start to, collect records, medical records, bank records, depending on what the situation is. We interview people involved, the alleged incapable person, any alleged abusers, family members, doctors, you name it. We interview them, and then we come up with a case to see whether or not, it meets the criteria to go to court to obtain guardianship. So that's a big part of our job. The other part of our job is when we have clients for either in our estates department or people who we're property guardian for, we are dispatched as an investigator to go out to their homes to either, if the person is home, then we will go and speak to them and perhaps collect records or any relevant documentation that would help our office administer their funds. If they're not home, say they've been moved to a long-term care facility, we gain entry to their home and we search for relevant documentation, or if somebody's deceased, again, looking for a will and whatnot. So that's the other part of my job.
All right.
Thank you. What are some examples of circumstances when the PGT might be involved, and what is the process there?
Okay, so
sorry, Sandy, maybe we can, because we're only going to get to actually one question, so can you blend in how that might help community workers? So our second question to you is, how can your office help clinical teams, case managers, community workers? So I wonder if you can kind of blend that into, is that possible?
I can try.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Actually, that last question is fairly straightforward because, we're sort of an all or nothing organization. So we don't really assist people if they're not our clients. The only, the assistance that we would give is if you call because you're making an allegation that you have a client that may be incapable and at risk, and we can talk about the options, and that's our investigations unit. If you have somebody who is a client of the Public Guardian and Trustee's office, you can work with the client representative who's managing the finances in some cases to see if you can figure out, different things to put in place that might help. So giving somebody a smaller allowance sort of daily as opposed to one, every 2 weeks, a larger one, or paying for services, right, direct services. So obviously if we're managing somebody's finances, we're generally paying the rent directly, so sometimes that takes care of a lot of things. We could pay for Meals on Wheels or, set up an account potentially at somewhere where they can get groceries. So those sort of things can help the clients. The other thing I would stress that would be great for case managers is that you can help the client, if you have a client that is a client of PGT, you can help advocate on their behalf. Because sometimes, communication, maybe they may have some communication deficits, and so calling and trying to get through to somebody at the PGT and trying to talk about what it is that they need and want is difficult. So you can help by advocating on their behalf by helping them navigate that system. So I would say that that's pretty much where we can help you as a sort of a partnership role. And in terms of the other question, which was some examples of where we become involved. So, generally, in terms of finances, if somebody's not capable of managing their finances and it's obvious that that they're not able to pay their bills, they're at risk of potentially being homeless because they can't pay their rent, and there's no other available options. So they don't, they can't appoint a power of attorney, or there's no trusteeship potentially for ODSP that's available. So, then we may become involved, and that can happen through different means. So if somebody's is admitted to a Schedule I facility, and we're admitted there for the observation of a mental disorder, a doctor can assess their capacity to manage property under the Mental Health Act. And they would submit the certificate of incapacity to our office, and then they would open up a file, and they become a client for the PGT. If the doctor has to assess them before they discharge them, because like we were saying, there could be, maybe it was a UTI and it's cleared up and now they're capable again. So they're assessed before they're discharged again, and if they're still incapable, we remain, the statutory guardian. If obviously they're capable, we have no jurisdiction, we back out. The other way to become a client of our office, again, is through a capacity assessment. So you can talk to the capacity assessment office and do it that way. So that's